I do think DJ is going to be lower owned than he should be, given how much he is the class of the field this week. Given he's the world number 2, has been more consistent than anybody else in the field by a pretty wide margin as far as top 10s. He's got 9 top 10s on the year. Mm-hmm. Woodland's got 9 as well, but I'm not loving him off of his U.S. Open. He's kind of been on the media tour. I don't know. I just don't think he's gonna come out with the same fire that he had at the U.S. Open. It's always tough.
Which is sad because his ball striking and his par 3 scoring, or par 5 scoring, are really good and lines up nicely for the course. But I think you're right. I don't think he's in competitive mode yet. He's still on the party tour.
Yeah, it seems that way. And I think going back to kind of the course preview, some of the stats I'm liking this week based on the course and what we're going to see. You got 4 par 5s. 3 of them are reachable by at least a good majority of the field. So I like par 5 scoring, strokes gained approach as always. Birdie or better percentage is one I'm looking at pretty heavily because it's going to be a shootout. I think
my favorite proximity.
Proximity goes right in line with strokes gained approach. So proximity, opportunities gained, all those stats I like this week because you're going to have to give yourself a lot of opportunities to make enough birdies to contend this week. DJ certainly does that. I'm also looking a little bit at, like I mentioned before, Donald Ross course history. His designs tend to be pretty similar. He kind of has his own signature on the way he sets courses up. So I like looking at the way certain guys play Donald Ross courses, guys that play him well and guys that don't play him well, because that should.
Well, I tell you, I'm not all in on top end guys very often. You know me; I like to get a little weird, so I usually go low. But my number 1 guy hits every single box, and I just can't walk away from him. I just can't quit him. Hideki, man, I can't walk away, and I know that it's on the tongue of every expert. I've been reading blogs, I listen to the junkies. I mean, I did it all, man, and everybody says Hideki. I don't care if he's 80% owned, man. I just can't get off of him for this course.
Well, he won't be 80, but I hear what you're saying, man. I've heard him talked up a lot myself. His ball striking numbers look great. He hasn't finished outside of the top 33 in his last dozen events. Everything sets up well for him this week. And I think in a field like this, with the 3 guys above him whose motivation might be a little bit questionable, with Ricky having a lot of media obligations, I think Decky's the guy that you kind of have to lock in at 10 too, especially when you look at the 2 or 3 guys just below him, like Brandt Snedeker, Ches Reavie, Ryan Moore just below Hideki. Like, that's just a different class of golfer. So I'll take Hideki all day as a high-end guy and lock him in. I'm not worried about ownership there. I'll happily take some lower-owned guys below him and differentiate that way. But Hideki's also a guy I'm with you, Danger. I can't avoid him this week. I think he's going to be right in the hunt come Sunday.
Absolutely. And the guy you just mentioned, there's another guy that checks a ton of boxes for me. I really like Ryan Moore, but I'm hesitant at 95. I wish he was at like 89, 88. 95 is just a touch much for the guy for me. If you just look and sort through, fantasy points per game, it's just hard to justify a 9.5 salary for him. But I do like him. So if he ends up fitting in and I find a real nice value, I might come back to him. But I like Ryan Moore there. I don't like Snedeker at all. I'm not a big fan of going back to back with Ches. Patrick Reed can shove it. So you got to get down to like Kiz before I like somebody else there.
I mean, I mostly agree with you on Patrick Reed. I will say he actually came into my store this week to take a look at his putter and get fit for something else. And he was a lot less of a douchebag than I expected him to be.
I hate when that happens.
Coming around on Patrick Reed a little bit as far as his personality goes. Don't love his game and the way it sets up this week, but it was interesting actually meeting him, seeing him in person when you're not judging him based on his on-course persona. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm a fan of Patrick Reed yet, but I'm not going to hate on him because I've met him and he's actually not a bad guy.
Nice. Well, I mean, I hope that you end up selling him a putter and he tips you, 1% of his winnings.
Well, if that's the case, I hope he wins and comes to the door on Sunday night or Monday morning and says, "Hey, thanks for the help. Here's, I don't know, $10K or something." That'd be great.
I like it. I dig it. So, anyways, what do you think of Ryan Moore? He's a guy that just lines up for me, but again, I wish he was at like 89, 87 and not 95.
I hear you. I completely hear you. He's a guy whose stats line up really well as far as his recent form. He plays Donald Ross courses really well. I do think a lot of people are going to look at him and go, yeah, he looks good, but there's some bigger names below him, and he's too high priced, and I don't think his ownership is going to be super high because of that. I'm actually going to play Ryan Moore in tournaments this week. I think he's got a really good chance at a top 10.
I agree,
actually watched him play a little bit yesterday.
Hideki was my number 1. Ryan Moore is my number 2, and how I graded it out. I took today off, so I've been staring at golf stuff all damn day. So I may actually have a vague idea of what I'm talking about today. That's weird.
Yeah, it sounds that way, man. You caught me off guard a little bit with some of the stuff you've been talking about, but
yeah,
I like
it. I read like 4 articles, listened to 3 podcasts, I did some stuff around the house with my headphones in. Yeah.
I bet you vacuumed, didn't you? You used that new toy of yours.
Hell yeah, I vacuumed.
Shark?
Yeah.
You used the Shark?
No, yeah, absolutely I did. My Apex, man. My Apex Predator, brah. Love that bad boy. I had my headphones in, man. I went out and I vacuumed I bought a pool, like a kid pool, but like one of those big ones, like 10 foot by 10 foot long by 30 inches tall, like one that you actually have a filter pump attached to, but just big enough for the small kids. And so I was out there dosing some chlorine in there, using the vacuum out there, the pool vacuum. I got down with some golf podcasts and household chores today.
Sounds like a lovely day, sir.
And I drank like 3 bourbons. It was just a wonderful, beautiful day.
Wow, I'm surprised you're still coherent for the pod, man.
I'm working on it. There's still an hour to go.
That's true. I want to see you go off the handle, man.
That's right. Well, probably not this week, but that time's coming, and it might be. We might have to take some. We might have to take some live video, like 20 to 30-second clips while we're on the course tomorrow. So, yeah, get ready for that, Facebook world.
This kind of explains, some of the conversation from earlier where you were really high on Gus Edwards. Where you're talking about taking 4 running backs, and it's because you're drunk, and I get it.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
Well, I've had about 3 Trulies, 1 gin, and 3 bourbons so far today, so I'm working on it.
It's all making sense now, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense at this point.
I'm getting there. All right, well, let's move along down the list, shall we?
Rounding out the 9K and above range, a guy that I'm actually really, really liking this week, looking at how his recent ball striking stats line up, is Billy Horschel right at 9K.
The horse.
In this field, the way he's been playing, his win equity, just as compared to the other guys that are above him in the 9K range, I actually think he's got a better chance to win than anybody else in that range. And he's been really trending well as far as his ball striking goes. So I like Horschel a lot.
I dig it, man. And I'll tell you what, and that might be a nice differentiating play, because everything I listened to and read today didn't bring his name up once besides a casual passing. So all the experts and the people go to read these articles and listen to these podcasts, nobody's pointing him towards Horschel.
I love hearing that. I think he's going to be a guy I'm locking into at least half of my tournament lineups. I'm going a little heavier this week because it's local. I'm going to be able to go out there and watch the guys. I want a little something extra to root for, So I'll be locking Billy Horschel. And the guy's made 17 out of 18 cuts this year. His ball striking numbers, especially off the tee, were a little suspect to start the year, but that's really come around here the last 4 or 5 events. I think he's a great play at 9K, and I don't know. I might just full fade the guys above him in tournaments, play Ryan Moore in cash in that 9K range, and just be done with it. Because I like the way he pairs up with a guy like Hideki as a lower owned guy in the 9K range. Then you can go down to your 8 and 7K range and differentiate even more down there. So the more about it, the more I like it, man.
So a guy I'm interested in a lot, and we've played him a few times, and we've talked about him, and he's basically just ruined every lineup we ever put him into. But I'm thinking about taking another shot on him. Kevin Kisner, man. It's another guy who lines up good, but I've put him in probably 4 weeks worth of lineup so far this year, and it just has tanked me every time. Is that for good reason? Should I just close the book on that and forget about it?
On who? I'm sorry, I spaced out for a second.
Kevin Kisner.
Yeah, Kiz is just too up and down for me, man. He's only got one top 10 on the year. Outside of his match play win, which the guy's a bulldog. I mean, he's awesome in match play. Head to head, he's fantastic. But he rode a really hot putter in short game last week to a top 15, but barely squeaked in. Even with that being the case, he only made 13 birdies over the course of 4 rounds. And I think this is really going to be a course where you have to make a ton of birdies. I don't know if you can close the door on him permanently, but I'm only going to be taking him at certain courses that set up well for him, where he's not coming in great form, so his price is lower, ownership's depressed. I just can't get on Kiz on any consistent basis from week to week, especially at 9,100. That just seems really, really high for him.
Yeah, I'm with you on there. It's just a guy that just lines up with what I was looking at this week, and I just said fuck as soon as I saw his name, because every time I've put him in the lineup, it's just tanked. It's just no good.
Yeah, I hear you, man. He's a guy that I've had some success with in the past. I actually bet him his last PGA Tour victory outside of the match play. So he'll always hold a little bit of a special place in my heart, but I can't do it this week, and he's only one of those guys that's got to be on certain courses for me to play him. So I'm with you. Get rid of him. Take him out of your lineup.
All right. Before we dip a little lower, Christopher, you got anything to add?
Nope. Sure don't.
Have you opened a new beer yet? Come on, man, get with it.
I don't have any beer in the house. I drank
a bottle of liquid. I mean, anything?
Oh man, I'm gonna just ride it out. Maybe get a Mountain Dew here in a little bit. I've got to cook some lunches and whatnot. So I'm being a little bit boring and probably not going to play a lot of PGA, if any. So I know that. I think Adam has a very intimate knowledge of this course, and I prefer not to test that intimate knowledge, but we'll see.
Nice.
You got to play.
Well, I mean, Adam's going to be. Both of us, hopefully, will be there tomorrow. Adam will be there, and then Adam's thinking about going back Sunday too. So I don't know, man. We get a lot of little live clips going on. I think it'd be pretty exciting. So I think you should definitely at least get in our game.
Oh, there's no thinking about Sunday. I will be there on Sunday.
No, I know you are. I'm saying I actually have a tip certified training on Sunday. Maybe I could skip away to catch the end with you if we're looking exciting. When I'm done with that, that might be fun.
If you do show up, I want to see you skipping along the fairways of Detroit Golf Club.
Done. I will make that happen. Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get on here because a couple of my favorite guys are right here at the top of the 8,000s here. Joaquin Niemann is a guy that I just keep finding my way back to his name at that price range. I like him. And Sungjae Im, when you consider his out of PGA tournaments this year, has been fantastic and looks like he's kind of coming back around. And then I hate Bubba Watson right below that.
All right. I'm actually going against you here on those top couple. Sungjae, I'm kind of indifferent on. I haven't played enough of him this year because he's had a pretty solid year, and he plays every freaking week, man. The guy's played 26 events over the course of this year.
Right.
But his ball striking numbers
he's Canadian,
great.
and he's done a couple of Euro spots too, hasn't he? The guy basically has played everything.
Yeah, he's been incredible. He's a horse for sure, but Joaquin's one of my biggest fades of the week. He came in off of a pretty good finish last week. He was top 5, but he rode a very, very hot putter. He hasn't shown very good long-term ball striking. His strokes gained approach is like in the 50s over his last 12 rounds. I just don't love him with his hiked price. I think people are going to see his good finish last week. He's kind of a young up-and-coming name. And I've heard some talk about him too on different pods this week. So he's actually a guy that I'm gladly fading. And that was actually in the article that I wrote up, some of the additional reasons why. But I'm with you on Bubba, though. I mean, Bubba, for some reason, plays Donald Ross courses fairly well, but he's just shown absolutely nothing as far as form goes. He's got basically one decent finish in his last 3 months of play, and that was 3 months ago. So nice. Not loving Bubba this week either.
And then just below Bubba, a guy that I think that